Portland. I'm Stuart Willis, and this is the Asset Preservation Hour. Today's show is going to be amazing. It's going to be full of information. Of course, we're going to talk about taxes and how the big, beautiful bill is going to affect your personal retirement. We're also going to talk about diversification, how to make sure your portfolio is truly diversified. And then we're going to talk about real estate. So we're going to start there. Real estate. Eric Jimenez from Scottsdale, Arizona, we have in the office today. Of course, we have Nathan Falmo out of our Gilbert, Arizona office. How you doing there, Eric?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
And you, Nathan, you ready to go?
Ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with real estate. Eric, does it make sense to be part of a portfolio? Because I see all the time financial advisors that are telling their clients to sell their real estate. Good, bad, what makes sense?
That's biased advice is what I'm telling you, right? Most advisors can't help you or profit off your real estate holding. So they're incentivizing you to sell it by you can work with them with a better plan, et cetera. I love real estate. Most of the clients that walk through these stores here have real estate or have had multiple properties that over time have done very, very well. Well, the problem is, now what, right? Now say they want to use the money or start liquidating for fun. Now we have to deal with nasty taxes. But the big reason why that's worked, that might not work going now, Stuart, is the interest rate environment. We're in a different place than we were during COVID when interest rates were at the all-time lows and real estate was booming everywhere. So the strategy is changing, absolutely, but has it worked? Yeah, 100% it's worked for
So
clients.
the past is not an indication of future performance, is what you're saying.
Favorite statement for financial advisors to make there.
Well, listen, I think one of the other reasons, Nathan, that real estate, and I too, we're on the same page. I think real estate is the common denominator of wealth and ultra wealth. I think one of the other reasons is leverage, right? Leverage allows you to basically, generally, you put 20% down, and that 20% of your money, you're borrowing the remaining 80%, yeah. But that entire amount is earning interest or gaining in value. It's also producing income and so forth. But what other benefits come with real estate?
Well, I mean, you have to look at the tax perspective. So if you get a depreciation for your taxes, when you're earning a lot of income, well, that's great, right? You have something else you can depreciate and you have as a write-off for the taxes. So from that perspective, it can be great while you own the real estate, and if you keep getting income from that, you have write-offs from that as well, if you're using that as a rental income.
Right. Well, let's focus on that. Let's focus on the tax aspect, Eric. Yeah. Specifically, depreciation. Can you expound on that a little bit and explain how depreciation works? Because big word, what does it mean?
Long story short, it's the government's way of giving you a credit, right? They expect this property, this asset that you bought to break down over time. So they're giving you a credit. Most real estate holdings depreciate over a 27-year schedule. So what that means is you can take the value of whatever it cost you and divide that by 27. That amount you can take off. If it's a rental property, you can take it off the rental income. So for example, $500,000 ends up being around $27,000, $25,000 of depreciation you can take, right? Well, if you make $25,000 of rental income, you just offset that income and made it all tax-free.
So that's why we're seeing people with huge incomes actually paying no taxes at all, because we see that negative line on their schedules that show negative income from depreciation.
Especially if it's an active, active investment, what we call active versus passive. If it's an active real estate investor, absolutely, they could take, losses on paper on the real estate side and offset their personal W-2 income, big win.
But what if we need access to the money, Nathan? What if we say, hey, we want to sell this property and go buy or go take a whirlwind vacation around the world? What are you going to do? What are the tax implications?
The funny thing you say that, I actually had someone ask me. They said their expenses were so low in retirement, and they said, I just want to go on a world trip. They told me the number. It was over $100,000, but they're like, I just want to go do this. Actually, sorry, over $200,000. And I want to do this, and then after that, I'm going to go back to my, $1,000 a month spend for the rest of my life. And anyway, when you say that, I always think of that guy. But here's what it does. You need liquidity, right? But in order to do that, to go take that trip, you have to have money accessible to be able to do that. So that's always a balance with real estate or anything that's not liquid. You have to balance do you have to sell it, or how else are you going to get access to that money?
Well, because one of the things we see when people need access to it, they have to sell it, and then you have depreciation, depletion, recapture, right?
It's never fun, right?
Right, 25%. You're going to have to pay. Uncle Sam wants a taste of it, right? They're not just going to give it back to you for free if you depreciated all this year. Time to pay the fiddler. The big wealth to me is created when you use the step up in basis, meaning when you die, you pass it to your kids or your heirs at current market value, and all those capital gains are wiped out. So I really like it if you use it properly in that way. And the other thing is real estate is diversification. It adds to your diversification. It's an offsetting asset to the stock market, completely uncorrelated to the market.
Well, that's the key thing in retirement, right? Everyone preaches be diversified, have great diversification. Real estate is one asset class, one. We also need to talk about, stocks and bonds and gold and this and that. So having, a diversification there helps mitigate risk, right?
So when we talk about diversification, I mean, when you see clients, are they properly diversified when they come in to see you for the first time?
More often than not, no. Unfortunately, clients come in, right? I'll give you the majority of our clients come in. They're approaching retirement, and most of their money or wealth is tied up in their 401k. And we're talking through their statements and their investments. I go, so what's the logic? What investments did you pick? Come to find out, oh, well, that one performed well and it did really, really good last year. So I picked that one and I picked this one and I saw this one. And long story short, when we break down what's underneath the hood of these investments, it turns out they have a lot of the same underlying positions or stocks. Well,
so you're saying if they have like a growth fund, it may be almost 80% or 90% the same as an S&P 500
Exactly.
fund.
So you have to be careful. A lot of people aren't even aware, separate from the underlying positions, the risks that they're bringing into the portfolio. Approaching retirement, that's one of the most crucial parts of the game is you have to mitigate risks so that you have a more tailored or volatile, less volatile approach to cash flow.
So when clients have a financial advisor in the context of diversification, what other lack of diversification do you see, Nathan, when it comes to when a financial advisor is doing it?
Yeah, well, first off, you have to understand who's making the decisions in this portfolio. Is it the financial advisor themselves? Did they hire someone to come in and do this, right? Are they trying to save themselves?
What do you see most often?
There's not a diversification of perspective. There's no question about that. Meaning there's going to be maybe one person or one committee that is with the organization. They're tied to the organization. They're employed by the organization, and they're making the investment decisions for everyone.
But that sounds like a tremendous amount of risk to absolutely depend on one human being or one group to decide whether you're rich or poor. Ask you the question, what if they're wrong? What if that one person or that one group is wrong? You're going to spend your whole life savings on betting on one human being? That's a lot of faith to have in one human being.
Yeah, that's what I'm not going to. And the other part of it is, even if they do hire someone else, are they going to be diversified enough as well? Like, are they just going to have all the same funds, just themselves, and they're only using one manager, right? We have access to multiple perspectives. We can go to different managers, and they're independent of each other. They're independent of us. So it doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. If one person gets it wrong, it doesn't blow up the entire portfolio.
Doesn't sink the whole ship.
No.
Eric, why aren't we seeing more people use multiple points of view in their portfolios?
Long story short is access, right? So a lot of times they're working with a smaller firm or a brokerage firm that does things one way because it's cheaper. It's cheaper for them to do it. They're saving money by doing it that way.
For who?
For themselves, the firm that they're working with. Now, my advice is when it comes to your life saving, don't take the easy way out or the cheap way out. So a lot of times when you're working with these fund managers, find out how their money's being invested, because chances are they probably have an analyst in the back door, back office putting together all their portfolios. That's the reason why most people don't do it. It's access. Either the person that they're using doesn't have access to do what we do.
Well, to me, if you're putting all of your eggs in one basket, that's a tremendous amount of risk. Or if you're a self-investor, what if you're wrong? Right? Putting all of your eggs in one basket at this later stage in retirement, to me, is a tremendous risk that you just don't need this close to retirement. So if you're concerned that you're not properly diversified, or if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, it's time to get a second opinion. Don't wait till tomorrow. Give us a call right now. All you have to do is give us a call at 844-503-PLAN. Once again, 844-503-PLAN. You can meet us at our Lake Oswego office, or soon to come, our Vancouver, Washington office. Click on the QR code. That'll take you to assetpreservation.com to claim your absolutely free portfolio review. But it's time for you to take action. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Asset Preservation Hour.
Only we'd taken charge. We really could have been living large.
But in 2025, we missed the boat. Now we can barely stay afloat.
2025 was a year to score the greatest tax break in American lore. The window was open.
We knew it wouldn't last.
We told them to act real fast.
Remember the Joneses, those sneaky devils who seized the tax moment at whole new levels.
And what about those pesky Smiths? Well, they're off on golden sand. But here we are with a staycation planned. They said, invest, retire like kings, but instead we focused on other dumb things. Oh, if only we could turn back time, we'd take advantage of every dime.
Act fast and take control of your financial future with Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax today.
Do you know how much risk you're taking or what kind of fees may be hidden inside your portfolio? When was the last time your advisor discussed whether a Roth conversion might make sense for you? At Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax, we're fiduciaries. That means we put your interests above our own. Claim your free portfolio risk and tax review. Click the QR code, call the number on your screen, and meet with an Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax advisor at our locations in Summerlin and Henderson.
Welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. We're going to continue our conversation on diversification, and this time we're going to talk about diversification of tax classes. I'll start with you, Eric, here. When it comes to diversification of tax classes, are you seeing that people are diversified from a tax perspective?
Generally speaking, no, right? People work, and they've been told put money in this 401k. Recently, finding out that a Roth 401k is available, right? So most of
what's wrong with the 401k? And that's a softball answer I'm tossing to you, but
there's absolutely nothing wrong. The problem is you're deferring taxes on all this money you have saved, and so that later can cause a tax problem. I have, a client that came to us, in a big airliner that he works for, and just save, very disciplined, $5 million. 1% is tax-free, 99% is taxable. So there's this big tax bomb that we're dealing with.
So we have a bunch of clients that are pilots, for example, at Delta, okay, and they're based out of Seattle, but there's a ton of them here, and it's interesting. They're making a lot of money. $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and they want to save taxes today, thinking that, hey, their taxes are going to be lower by doing it. Now, every situation is different. I know you see a lot of the higher income folks as well, not just in the Scottsdale office, Eric, but also you and Gilbert with a lot of the engineers and people out of the technology areas there. But, it's painful. Paying that tax bill is painful. It's hard to say, hey, I'm going to put money into a Roth when I can save money today on a 401k, a Roth 401k. Why aren't people doing it?
Well, do you know what's more painful is to see if I do a calculation for you, Stuart, and this is what we do for our clients. I'm going to do a calculation to show you exactly how much in taxes you're going to pay for the rest of your life if you don't do anything, and that's more painful because it's an astronomical number. But if I can show you how maybe paying some more taxes now, no one likes it now, but if you can do it, it's going to save you in the long run. That's different. Yeah. But you have to be able to see it.
I think the important thing, my experience as a financial advisor is I saw people that put away this money tax deferred into IRAs and 401ks. Then they retire and they think their tax bill is going to drop. Well, even if they drop brackets, what they don't realize ahead of time is that they're now making Social Security potentially taxable, and they don't have an income source. They want to take a vacation, but they know if they take a little more, now I'm going to pay penalties on Medicare with an IRMA penalty. I'm going to pay taxes on Social Security that I don't want to pay. Or people that are in that donut window, 60 to 65 years old, they want to retire, and they have money to take out of their IRAs, but they don't want to touch it because they're no longer going to qualify for Affordable Care Act. Right. And so all these people have tax deferred investments. They can't use it, and they die with all this money. What's the point, Eric?
That's what I ask myself every day. I had a client recently that passed away that was really dear to me. He had basically built this nest egg with him and his partner, and unfortunately got struck with an illness, and unfortunately they weren't able to live out the dreams that they had.
It's Lou Gehrig's disease, right?
Yes, ALS. So my client Brian passed away. So hey, George, the spouse that's still here. But long story short is you build out these plans and life hits you, right? And it ends up being for nothing in a lot of cases. And what I want clients to know is your money is a tool for you to do everything you want to do in retirement. And as long as you're not compromising your financial situation, go and do it. But forget taxes. Don't let the pain of taxes or the fear of taxes prevent you doing what you want to do. The biggest thing is having a clear understanding. Now with this big beautiful bill, right? There's some tax breaks that are kind of going to be given to seniors. We just have to utilize that with the different asset classes. We talked about tax-deferred money, tax-free money. What about capital gains, right? Brokerage money or tax-free income like municipal bond interest, et cetera. So we just have to put a plan that kind of incorporates all these different sources with Social Security and things like that, and how to maximize the deductions that are now part of this new big beautiful bill to limit the tax hit.
You touched on something really important. I don't want to gloss over it. I think what's really important is to understand that, look, at the end of the day, people save money so that they can enjoy retirement. And then life hits us, right? Life takes us on turns that you aren't expecting, and things change. But if you're afraid of enjoying your money because of a tax bill, then you need to have a tax plan. You need to figure it out ahead of time. And I know you were very affected by that. I mean, it's a hard thing. Like I've gone to many clients' funerals, and we develop. I have a simple rule, and I've said it over and over again. I don't do business with people I don't like, right? If you don't like Eric, don't call the Scottsdale office, right? Because he's going to be the one you're going to see. If same thing with Gilbert, right? You do business with people you enjoy, and then, of course, you create these bonds, and you see them go through life and different pains and so forth. But at the end of the day, I think people need to have a plan. Yeah. People need to have a way to diffuse all that work they've done, all those thousands and hundreds of thousands of hours they've worked to put money away, not to be a slave or a prisoner to your own tax, your own tax bill.
Right? Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, what's the point if we can't use it and enjoy it?
Well, I had a client, a husband and wife, come to me a few months ago. It's interesting because they wanted to buy their dream house in retirement, and they weren't ready to sell their current house. And they said, well, all we have is our IRA assets because we didn't have an opportunity to do planning for years leading up to this. So we're in the moment right now. And I said, don't let that tax tail wag the dog, right? Meaning, if you want that dream home, let's at least look at what is the tax bill going to be, and showing them that they were at least felt like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're going to jump 2 brackets, but in the end, just like you said, well, what are you going to pass on that? And then in the future, you don't have your future home. Enjoy your future home, bite the bullet, and sometimes you have to do that.
Absolutely.
As tax efficiently as possible.
That's what I'm saying. If you have to.
At the end of the day, what's the money for other than to enjoy your retirement? Look, a lot of people, they want to make sure that, they can stack up all this money and just be able to show off their portfolios to their friends. Other people actually want to enjoy retirement, right? Some people want to, if you're looking to be able to enjoy retirement, have a real financial plan so you don't have to worry about taking vacations. We'll let you know if you're ready to retire or not. I promise you that. We'll break the good news or the bad news to you. I promise you that. We'll tell you straight how it's going to work. But if you want to have a financial plan that includes a tax plan and shows you how to unwind what you've built already from a tax perspective, all you have to do is call the number on your screen. If you give us a call at the number on your screen, we are offering an absolutely free portfolio review and tax analysis, or even easier, pick up the phone, click on the QR code. That'll take you to assetpreservation.com, where you can claim your free portfolio review. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation on taxes and whether it makes sense to put your real estate into a real estate self-directed IRA. See you soon. This could be your retirement portfolio slipping away without seizing some of the lowest tax rates in American history that expire at the end of 2025. Seize the moment with Asset Preservation Wealth and Tax today.
Remember, it's not about what you make, it's what you get to keep. Have you created a tax time bomb with your IRAs or 401ks? If your financial advisor hasn't asked you about tax planning, you may be missing out in one of the most tax-efficient windows in history. Does a Roth conversion make sense for you? Claim your free tax planning and Roth conversion report by clicking the QR code or call the number on your screen and meet with an Asset Preservation Wealth Advisor at our convenient locations in Summerlin and Henderson.
And welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. Here we are with Eric Jimenez out of our Scottsdale office, and Nathan Faldmo from Gilbert, Arizona. Let's ask the big question. We hinted at it earlier. Does it make sense, Eric, to put a real estate inside an IRA for retirement accounts?
Oh yeah, if it's going to make money, any investment in your IRA makes money. However, there's some drawbacks to that, okay? I've seen some clients that have come to me after the fact, right? They've had this investment that's performed really, really well. After the '08 crash of the market, they were afraid to put the money back in the stock market, right? Wrong thing to do in my opinion, but that's another story. They actually took that asset, rolled money out of their 401k and into a self-directed IRA. Some bought gold, but a lot of them bought real estate. Well, now, you know, that saying you say the chicken's coming home to roost, clients are approaching the required minimum distribution age, right? The government is forcing them to take money out. Well, if the money's all tied up in the real estate, there's not a lot of liquidity there.
If there's not enough cash flow to pay the required minimum distribution, that could be a big penalty.
Oh, tax and penalty.
And also, listen, I think the day of the real estate the flippers, that's where I thought real estate IRAs made sense, because when interest rates were falling, you know, prices of real estate were going through the roof, right? And we were seeing similar growth to the stock market. And it was also tangible. People felt like they could understand it. It wasn't this distant concept like the real estate market. But I think you're giving something up. I think the whole purpose of real estate, in my opinion, from a tax perspective, Nathan, is the ability to depreciate it over 27 years. So you're getting a 4.5% deduction of the total value. And is it worth forfeiting that into an IRA? Aren't you missing the point?
Well, that's the idea, is you have to know what are you missing out on, because you are going to miss out on some tax advantages when you can depreciate that asset over time. If it's in an IRA, it doesn't matter. There's no depreciation of assets within an IRA. So by having it in there, you're not going to have that same tax efficiency. Yeah. It's going to delay some taxes, but it's not going to you can't depreciate that.
One of the big benefits of real estate typically is also leverage, right? Most people borrow money against a property, right? If either it's their primary residence, they move, and then they start to use that as a secondary residence. I'm not saying do not buy a rental property and say it's your primary residence, right? We've learned from different legislators and lawmakers out there that that's illegal. What we're saying is that you buy a property, you put 20% down, you've got 100% of it working in the market, and when rates were falling, property was going through the roof, so you're making 30, 40% on your actual investment in real estate.
Right. How much you put into it
with that leverage,
a lot more.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think you miss out on that, because typically in IRAs, you're not going to get that leverage. It's dollar for dollar. Yep. You miss out on that upside, right? We're seeing the same thing with gold IRAs, which I have a huge problem with. Because you liked gold last year. I know it rotated into some of the portfolios you saw, but you didn't buy physical gold, did you?
No, we stay away from that. Unless it's jewelry or something for the wife.
I was going to say, I see that watch on there right there.
Certain gold, right? Yeah. But long story short, gold outperformed the stock market last year. The price of gold anyways. I have clients that, acquire these gold bullions or these gold coins that they see on TV that someone sold them, right? They told them you should buy it on this TV infomercial commercial. Long story short, you're not making what the price of gold is making, because there's a buy and sell fee on that.
Yeah.
Right?
So do you know what those fees are?
Yeah.
I mean, people are generally paying 10 to 15% above spot to buy it, and they're getting 10 to 15% below spot to sell it. Because how the heck are you going to make up for 10 to 30% for the buy and sell?
It's not fair to the actual person that's buying the gold.
Listen, I'm a big fan. If you think Armageddon's happening, buy physical gold, right? Stock it in your basement, whatever. But the gold IRAs, to me, I think it's nonsense. I think you're going to miss out on the whole, the whole purpose of gold is, hey, there's a collapse in the market. Well, guess what? If there's a collapse in the market, you think your gold IRA people are going to let you have access to it. Good luck with that one. I say pass. Let's continue the conversation on taxes here, because we spend a lot of time talking about tax planning.
Yeah.
Are your clients properly planning for tax ahead of time before they meet you, Nathan?
No.
On average?
I mean, most people come in and they absolutely do not. In fact, it's interesting because they say, well, I have an advisor. Just on Friday, I was talking to someone. He came into my office with his wife, and he's at one of these big firms. And he said, you know what? I'm just here for my wife. I don't need to talk about this because I have a guy. And I said, great. What's your tax plan? And he's like, well, he doesn't talk about that. And so I just thought, well, I don't understand.
How convenient, right?
Help me understand the difference here. So what I did is in 20 minutes, I showed him how much, where's at least the opportunity to save in taxes over time. And of course, I said, just do me a favor. Go back to your guy and just ask him, what's my tax plan? And just see what he says. See if he offers some of these advice. And if he does, why wasn't it offered before?
Because I truly believe it's not about what you make. It's about what you get to keep at the end of the day. And most importantly, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. You know, you need to have a tax plan. If you want to take vacations, if you want to be able to enjoy retirement, you know, what good did it do to work all those years and die with all this money or not be able to realize what you wanted to realize? And I think it's an important thing. Now, big, beautiful bill has passed. What does that change, Eric? I mean, is it time to, you know, pick up and leave? Or are we trying to continue the planning?
Oh, two favorite words of my wife here is, you know, sale extended, right? So the tax sale is still good, meaning the tax rates that we had are sticking around a little bit longer. We were fearful that they were going to expire at the end of this year, so we were kind of rushing to do conversions and tax planning and get it done before year end. Well, that's been extended, right? The big win for clients is no, we didn't get Social Security to be tax-free. However, there's some standard deduction enhancements, some $6,000 plus to 65 years of age and more for people that gets an extra $6,000 to deduct off their taxes. That's something to factor in, but we also got to factor in other income because there's some phase out. So having a tax plan along with your investment strategy is going to help you maximize these tax deductions.
Well, that's my biggest concern, because now with the big, beautiful bill, there's now an upper threshold that creates a phase out for that $6,000 deduction per person if you're over 65 years old. So the do-it-yourselfer in the past that would do conversions on their own, Roth conversions, what if they shoot past that? And what are the mistakes? What are the pitfalls out there? What possible mistakes could people make?
The pitfall is you're leaving money on the table possibly, or maybe you're making a decision that's short-sighted, because some people may say, you know what, I don't want to do anything with tax planning because I don't want to increase my income now and have to lose out on this deduction. Well, it goes back to IRMA, right? You might lose out on a small deduction now. It's great if you can maximize that and take advantage of it, but if not, you may be able to have tax advantages that far exceed that down the line, and that's the important part.
And
have a plan.
Yeah, and you know, here's what I tell people all the time. I think a lot of people have to realize that oftentimes they're penny wise and pound foolish, and sometimes you just need to shake that off and realize that, you know what? Sometimes it makes sense to pay the taxes now. Not in all cases. The question is, does it make sense for you or not? If you want to find out if a tax plan makes sense for you, if a Roth conversion makes sense for you, we are offering an absolutely free tax analysis and portfolio review, but you have to ask for help. If you pick up your phone right now, call the number on your screen, or even easier. Once again, scan the QR code. It's at the bottom of your screen. That'll take you to assetpreservation.com, where you can claim your absolutely free portfolio review and tax analysis. Don't leave money on the table. We're here to help, but you have to ask for it. Until next time, look forward to seeing you guys on the next Asset Preservation Hour. Take care.